Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me back. I always enjoy having the opportunity to share the highlights of the governor's budget with you. Our revenue forecast compared to what we thought when the governor signed the budget in June, the 2016 budget, is down by $5.8 billion. Obviously, that's a big number, but it's spread over kind of the 3 years that we're operating in. So it represents about 1.6% of revenues over that period. So in order to reflect that lower expectation of revenue growth, the budget does propose $3.2 billion in budget solutions that I'll walk through. And I think as I make my presentation and I kind of talk about some of these proposals we're putting in front of the legislature, we very much had a commitment to preserve to the best of our ability those things that we considered kind of our core fiscal achievements of the last number of years: the local control funding formula, the earned income tax credit, the expansion of healthcare to millions of Californians, those types of things. So the economy is still expanding. Revenue growth is about 3% in the upcoming year compared to the current year. That being said, from the time the governor signed the budget in June, the cash that has been coming in the door has really been disappointing compared to our expectations. And that's across the board on our three biggest taxes: the sales tax, the corporate tax, and the personal income tax. So we proposed $3.2 billion of corrective actions to bring our operating reserve back up to a reasonable number, $1.6 billion. And then we continue to make deposits into the state's rainy day fund. Just to give you kind of a snapshot of what the state budget would look like under our proposal, it's basically, from a spending side, a flat budget compared to the adjusted current budget. On the left-hand side here, you see our various revenue sources. On the right-hand side, where we spend our money. So you can really see the orange there is the personal income tax, 70% of general fund revenue. So how that goes will really always kind of determines our fiscal outlook. And on the right-hand side, where we spend the money, you can see primarily in K-12 education, health and human services being the second largest area of expenditure. In higher education, the governor's continuing to provide 4% growth to each of the university systems on their general fund budgets in order to continue the efforts there to promote technology, lower the cost of instruction. CSU in the fall adopted a pretty aggressive plan to improve their graduation rates, which a year ago we were talking about were unacceptably low, but they're looking to double those graduation rates over the next number of years, and so we want to encourage that. The budget's also continuing to pay down all of our debts and liabilities. Under Proposition 2, which I've talked about in past years, the state's rainy day fund measure, there's $1.2 billion that is dedicated to paying down our debts and liabilities. Most of those long-term debts and liabilities are in the retirement area. And then finally here, strengthening infrastructure. The last couple of budgets have put aside one-time money for deferred maintenance. The big piece of our infrastructure proposals that is yet to be adopted is transportation. And so the governor's budget once again includes the transportation package, slightly amended, but largely the same framework that was originally put forward by the governor going back to September of 2015. It would provide $4.3 billion of annual revenues for state and local transportation projects. There are certainly things being discussed in DC that could have a positive effect on our economy and our budget, but to be frank, there's more things that could have a major negative effect, and so I would definitely put it squarely in the risk category. But we'll wait and see. And every year we have a May revision, which updates the governor's budget proposal for the newest and latest information across the board, and obviously any changes in federal fiscal policy in the next few months will be a big piece of that. And then to close, this is just that history since 2000 of the state's budget surpluses and budget deficits. Obviously, the red is much more pronounced than the black, and you see the 1.6 billion deficit in 2017-18. But I think it also points to the sort of remarkable run we've had these last 4 years, where we've had surpluses, and I've managed to come to this room with good news, and it really it is kind of it's I think California's fiscal policy has turned the corner to where it's not no accident that we had those 4 years, but at the same time we've always said that the budget remains precariously balanced, and it's an ongoing challenge to keep a budget as big and volatile, based on a sort of an unstable revenue base, keep it balanced. With that, thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.